Hello there. I am Harry from the Chabotcast, and this is the fifth of a series going through all of the costume pieces and variations for each Doctor. As always, there is room for human error, so if you found anything that I've missed, then do get in touch or comment below. Today I will be going through the third Doctor, John Pertwee's third season, which is season 9. And I'll be going through the costume pieces from that season, spanning from Day of the Daleks through to the Time Monster. So this series features the debut of really one whole new proper costume, reusing bits from the previous series. And firstly, you can get a complete version of this costume. It's one of those cosplay site ones like CosDaddy or Hello Cosplay, although it's not available on CosDaddy's website, but you can get it on eBay. Now, I'd personally advise against this, as there are many things wrong with this piece. The velvet jacket supposedly is actually made of corduroy in this piece, and the tartan on the Inverness Cape is all wrong. So, now we will move on to the first new piece from this season. This is the jacket. It is a quite drastic change from the previous one, still keeping similar elements, but this one is a rust red velvet smoking jacket with a different style of lapel. I'm not actually sure how to describe this, as it seems to have a normal lapel, but then the bit at the top sticks straight up, as you will see in later pictures. It also has 3 frog fastenings and 2 hidden seamed pockets either side. The frog fastenings now have sort of custom made buttons made from the material used for the frog fastenings. Now, here is a picture of the jacket on its own, the cheap costume website replica version, but as I said before, this is completely wrong, as it is actually made from corduroy. It looks the part, sort of, but it's definitely not one of the better replications that cosplay websites have done. Now we move on to where you can get an actual quite nice replica. It's still not perfect, there's something off about the colour of the velvet, but this replica is probably the best you're going to get without getting one custom tailor-made to your specifications. But that is from Magnolia Clothiers. We can also see that this one's breast pocket is highlighted. Now we move on to the Inverness Cape. This is also new for this series. It is a tartan pattern, green and red and black tartan pattern with a red silk lining. This Inverness Cape also differs from the two as well. It is a different style of Inverness Cape, though you may not be able to tell. This one has flap pockets, and it also has strap closures, so buttons on either side hold the straps, holding the closures together. It also does not feature a velvet collar. The collar is just the same fabric as the rest of the coat, and the slightly less easy to tell difference is that the cape this time is all one piece. On the 2 previous capes, it was 2 smaller wings that were separate from the main body of the coat. However, this one is just one big wing separate from the body of the coat. There is a good image of the tartan here, which is from a promo shoot from the Green Death. Now, this specific one will be hard to make, but you can get the fabric from Spoonflower, and this is as accurate as you will get, and then I'm sure that you could then pass this fabric on to the Shelby and Gray site on Etsy, who would I assume would be able to make you an Inverness Cape from that. It just might cost a bit more, but then you could also take it to any tailor and then ask them to create it into this Inverness Cape for you. It's a bit more work than the previous capes, but it is still doable. Now we move on to the second change in Inverness Cape. This one is less obvious, but it is certainly there. This is of the black and red cape. Now there are two major differences for this one. It still features the velvet collar, but now it has satin lining on the lapels of the coat. Before it was just a black lining. It wasn't a lining, it was the same fabric as for the coat. There wasn't a lining on the lapels, but now the red satin spans onto the lapels, as can be seen on the image on the left here. The other major difference is that it now features frog fastenings rather than silk covered buttons, and also these frog fastenings are rather different from previous ones as they have 5 loops in the fastening. Other than that, they are just usual cord frog fastenings. This cape only appears in the Sea Devils, so it's a one-off in this specific style. But fortunately, the cape made by these cosplay sites is the specific one from this story, and it is quite a good replica. The only thing really wrong with it that I can find is that the collar is not velvet. Also, it looks like the lining doesn't span onto the inside of the lapels, but I'm sure if you asked for that or emailed the seller that they'd be able to do that for you, as it's not a difficult thing, and if worst comes to worst you can always do it yourself and it's not too difficult. Now we move on to a slightly obscure piece from this season, only seen again in one story. This features only in The Curse of Peladon. There are also pictures of it, that you can see on the Day of the Daleks photo shoot, because he wears the complete costume from The Curse of Peladon in this photo shoot. Now this is a sort of weird tapestry-like fabric of a mixture of reds and browns and beiges, and here is probably the best few pictures that you can see of its cut and fabric style. Now luckily someone has recreated this fabric on spoon flour, so if you can sew yourself, then by all means just buy this fabric and then use it to create the waistcoat. If you're less talented with a sewing machine, then I would suggest that you could just take it to a tailor and ask for a simple waistcoat, and hopefully it won't be too expensive. Now we move on to the first of 2 shirts. In this season it seems like there is only one shirt used for the entirety, but if you look closely there is a very slight difference. 2 very slight differences. This is the first shirt, which is seen in Day of the Daleks and the Sea Devils. It has a sort of it has loop button closures, and the buttons are fabric covered buttons, and then the actual ruffle and collar itself is edged with a sort of patterned fabric edging. I don't know what it's called, but I've seen it before on other pieces of clothing, so it shouldn't be too difficult to find. The trademarks of this specific shirt, as opposed to the one that will feature later in the video, is that this one has a extremely long collar compared to the other, and also the edging is larger. Here is a picture of it buttoned up. This jacket also has 3 cuff buttons all cloth covered, to my knowledge, and the ruffle itself loops at the bottom of the shirt, so comes back up, like the zip covered one. Now here is a replica that you can get from Costaddy. It is quite a good replica, except the buttons aren't loop closures. They're just regular cloth covered buttons which go through the other side of the shirt. Also, this shirt just has one closure all the way down the front of the torso, whereas on the original, like I said, the ruffle cuts off at the bottom, so the closure only goes to the bottom of the ruffle, and it loops back round. Now we move on to the second shirt. Now it looks extremely similar, except there's two differences. The edging around the collar and the cuffs is smaller. Same style, but definitely smaller edging. Also, one thing that I've just noticed is that the cloth covered buttons are now flat on this one, but they are round on the other one. Now the main difference of this shirt is that the collar is shorter. It does not extend down the neck. It is just like a normal suit shirt collar. Well, it's a big version of one. Now this shirt features in stories like The Mutants, The Time Monster and The Curse of Peladon. Here are some pictures of it, and it's more obvious from a further distance, the difference in the collar shape. Now this one there is a replica available. The replica could be seen as one for both shirt types, but in my opinion it's closer to the second version, because the collar isn't as long as the first version, and it also isn't rounded. Now this shirt appears here to be cut off, but I myself bought this shirt from Magnolia Clothiers, and I asked them to round it off at the bottom, and they were more than happy to oblige. They also do that with their green version of this shirt, which features in season 10, so I'll get onto that when it comes. But there shouldn't be any difficulty there in purchasing this. Now we move on to the last costume piece. This is the cravat that features in The Mutants. It is quite a specific style of paisley cravat. I haven't seen one very similar to this at all, really. It's got a sort of purple line border about 1.5 inches in from the edge of the actual cravat, and then a sort of gold yellowish large paisley design going into the corner of that, as you can see here. Yeah, it's pretty much impossible to find an exact match, so your best bet is either to design your own based off of what we can see here, or to find something similar that will do on either eBay or Etsy. So yeah, that's been the comprehensive Season 9 costume by me, Harry, from the Chabotcast. I'd just like to give special thanks to the Facebook group Doctor Who Photo Research for their very handy photos. Great for my research to help you find costumes. If you have any questions or anything, comment down below or contact me on chabotcast@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I shall be doing more covering the rest of the costumes from the classic era. So until next time, please like, comment and subscribe, and see you then. Cheers.